The federal government plans to announce more support and assistance for veterans and their families. It's expected to include financial aid for family members who care for disabled veterans. The issue of caregiver benefits was put in the spotlight literally last year by my next guest. Here's that memorable confrontation between then Veterans Affairs Minister Julian Fantino and Jenny Mignot, the wife of a veteran who suffers from PTSD. Here's how that unfolded.
Mr. Fantino, as a spouse, can I talk to you, please?
Right.
Mr. Fantino, I'm just a vet spouse. You're forgetting us. Once more. We're nothing to you. Willing to treat people at the Legion? But we're just what? Nothing? Nothing. This is what we are. Nothing. Again.
Jenny Mignot was the woman you saw there almost 10 months ago after a hearing in Ottawa. Her soldier husband was diagnosed with PTSD. Jenny joins me now from Montreal. Hello to you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you today?
I guess a lot of people are expecting me to be celebrating. I'm happy. It's a good day, but it's not what I was expecting for.
What were you expecting? What do you want to hear from the government today?
What is positive is the fact that as a caregiver, okay, I feel like there's a recognition, but it's a symbolism of this recognition, because in reality, when I look at the numbers and my understanding, this measure would have been great to support a wife who's working, who has to miss job in order to accompany her husband, or simply to stay at home when her husband is really suffering. This would have been great, because I remember that when I was working, I was penalized with my paycheck because I had to stay home. So this measure would have been great. These numbers, I would have celebrated so much. But it's like telling me, here, this is your recognition. We recognize the sacrifices you make 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Veterans Affairs right now, when it comes to accompany my husband, for instance, to his appointment, medical appointments, Veterans Affairs is already willing to recognize some expenses for anyone who could accompany my husband, except for the spouses and the family members. So Veterans Affairs already recognizes, for instance, $110 a day for someone who would spend the whole day with my husband, but not me. Thinking about the fact that my husband goes to an appointment almost every week, every 2 weeks. At one point in our lives, it was 5 days a week. So it seems to me like, you know, Veterans Affairs were already willing to give a lot of money to the neighbors, but not to me.
Right. Let me ask you, Jenny, this question, because I think we have to put this in context. We don't know officially the numbers yet, but what numbers are you dealing with? Because there have been reports out there that it would be $5,000 a year for caregivers, for informal caregivers.
I heard numbers between $5,000 and $7,000 a year.
Okay, $5,000 and $7,000 a year, and you actually gave up your job to become a full-time caregiver. So that's why, as I assume you're saying, this would come nowhere near to what you gave up to compensating you for your work with your husband.
It's compensating to me if I accompany my husband, only to that nature.
Okay.
You know, understand? Because there are many other questions that needs to be asked. Who will be entitled to access those benefits? How complex will be the process? How long will it take? Because don't forget that my husband is already in a delay, deny, and die policy, which is a reality in my life as a caregiver. Let me tell you something. So, am I going to be in the same process as him? I mean, I will be celebrating when I'll have the proof at home, when it will be a reality. But I think that the minister has a good intention, a good will, but more discussions need to take place because I feel like it's a half measure. The intention is good, but the purpose is questionable.
Let me ask you about your personal situation, if I may, and what your husband has been diagnosed with PTSD, right?
Right. He was already wounded when he left the Army 16 years ago, but has been diagnosed 8 years ago.
Okay. And since then, what have his symptoms been?
Since then, the symptoms, all of them. I mean, you must understand, I cannot even describe my husband's PTSD because I consider that I live in a parallel world. I will explain to you some challenges on an individual aspect, and you will tell me what is the difference between your couple and my couple, Jenny. Well, the difference, it's how huge the symptoms are huge. The reaction, the responses, the behaviors, the perceptions, it's so different from our civilian world. This is the challenge. I am facing a military who is wounded and who will act as a military in terms of anger, in terms of reaction, paranoia, the sense of danger everywhere. It's 24/7 in every aspect of his life. From the moment he steps out of the house, even just go to the grocery store is already a challenge. As for the people, the danger, everything.
Okay, so it's like, if I understand you, it's like he is still on the battlefield and perceiving danger around him?
You know, my understanding is at one point he will stay like this for the rest of his life. He will improve because recovery is a reality as well. The healing process is taking place, but it's a process. It takes years. It takes years for them just to accept. I live with the fact that he didn't accept his condition for years from the very beginning.
And so you have to be with him most of the time. Is that right, for his own safety?
I have to be with him at all time, not only for his own safety, because it's true that he went through many suicidal crises that were really, really hard on me and on him. But it's also to the impact. So let me explain to you that if I'd be working 40 hours a week, 5 days a week right now, it's not so much the first week or the second week that would be a problem to my husband. It's after 3 weeks, a month. He would be anxious, calling me at the job many times. I would have to reassure him. The fact of being alone all day is jealousy, is anger. And it's asking me to deal with his anger, his PTSD, and asking me to have a normal life. I cannot do it. I cannot do this. I am human too. And people told me for 13 years to stay strong. Well, I'm sorry. I'm human. And you know what? After 13 years, I'm tired because I was not educated, I was not supported. It's not always a question of money. The better quality of life my husband has, the better quality of life I have too. All I want to do is to contribute positively to my society first, but most importantly to the well-being of my husband.
So what would be the most important thing that the government could do for you?
You know, it depends, because it's hard, even at the end of the month like this. I mean, you'd come to my house and you'd open the door, the fridge, and you see that there's not much food in it. So we are facing financial challenges, it's true. But you know what? I need to be empowered myself in order to help my husband. I needed to understand what was PTSD. I needed to see the PTSD not like on a personal way. I needed to be able to intervene, and this is the word. I am a caregiver. It means that I have to give him care that I need to be trained for. Now, if I would have been supported, maybe I would have been able to work longer. You know, maybe I would have been able to pay my taxes like everybody else, to have my dignity as a person. That was like taken away from me. I mean, for years, I could not even financially take care of my own children. They were not my husband. He ended up taking care of them because what? I had to stay home. Not because this is what I wanted. Of course, today I realize that my place is with my husband. I get the fact that I am the most important person for my husband. My place is beside him. Now, all I want is a certain quality of life myself, to be the best wife, to be the best person, to be the best mother I can be, the best friend, the best daughter. I mean, right now, the system is basically keeping me in a mental and in a physical prison. You know, I keep saying I am in a parallel world, living in a fortress. My house is a fortress.